All right, so today we have our handsome Mr. Bodie, and I also wanted to mention a very nice job chopping up your snacks. They are beautiful, so I can tell that you guys took the time to chop them up nice and itty bitty for this handsome monkey. So very impressive. So what we're going to warm up with is just our typical madness. So we're going to do a little bit with maybe some find its, get them in the groove with checking in from the environment. It's a bit of a gross, rainy day. So the boys and girls have still been rocking going outside. So I'm sorry if they're a little bit messy on their feet. I do have the gravel outside, but sadly underneath it, there's quite a bit of sort of muck, sort of dirt. So right to his favorite. What a smart man. He's like, lady, look at me doing my downstay. Why are you so smart? So sorry if some of the lighter colored dogs have a little bit of a mess. They're not out very long, but for potty breaks, and they do wrestle a little bit while they're together. But hopefully nobody goes home too swampy today. So yes. So Mr. B has decided that he would like to participate in his downstays for now. We will work a bit with the agility ladder once again and our pause up or step up bowl, working that targeting with the front end and potentially maybe some pivoting. I'm not sure if he's going to be up for it, but we can always try. He's already winded. He's too cute. So with Mr. B, if he wants to rock a little bit with stay, so I know we've already worked on this. You guys have been practicing really nicely with him. So remember, think about stay again, just for folks that are just joining us. Stay is going to be very much so stay there until I come back and get you. So I always like to have my distinct stay and my distinct wait behaviors that are both different. So just like we have a sit and we have a down, the stay is all about building duration for your dog or puppy to be stationary. So what we're building value in is the being stuck part, not the leaving. So unlike with wait, they're being reinforced for coming when called to you. So movement is what's being reinforced, or going and grabbing food, let's say their food dish, or going and retrieving an item. Those are the reinforcements for breaking and going and doing that thing. So for the stay, he is going to be only fed during the stay. So again, we feed throughout the duration to build up value in being stuck is being the best part of stay. So as he's getting much more, again, more resilient or comfortable with it, which he's been showing really good practice and capabilities with it, then we throw in some difficulties. So I have been adding over the weeks when we've been practicing some novelty by adding distractions with me, adding movement and distance, as well as adding some distractions with me touching some of the gear on the wall, because some of them are toys and things that he may want to play with, but we're working a stay, so they're kind of just hanging out and are off limits for now. Yes, nice job. So we're going to just, again, meander. I'm just going to make some little noises. I would just want him to stay where he is and rock that stay position. Yes. He's really getting so nice at this. I know, crazy snack lady just being a weirdo over here. So, but remember, if we don't start to help generalize these skills, which I know you guys have been doing your darndest, is sometimes bringing maybe your dog caught, I know I'd mentioned in the past, like maybe from the backyard to the side yard or on your driveway. I would recommend, if there's certain environments where he's struggling, because he is a teenager now, is for a lot of the teenage dogs, their ability to regulate their emotions, just like when we were younger, and for some of us still now, which is completely normal, is that if your babe is really struggling with something and they're having a big response, it doesn't help them to keep rehearsing that same setup, especially if they keep going to the exact same sort of dynamic. So if every time we set them up out front, and maybe your neighbor comes home and they start barking and lunging, then all that keeps doing is reinforcing that barking and lunging to me, maybe gives you an out, or it gives you a way to make that thing go away from their perspective. So remember that whatever they're rehearsing, they're not growing out of skills or behaviors, they're typically growing into them. So if you are struggling with certain topics or certain environments or certain things, for now, prevention of that rehearsal is better than constantly allowing it to keep going in an attempt to make them get better. So there's a very big difference between sort of forcing the dog through something compared to counter conditioning, or slow at their comfort range sort of desensitization towards something. So like right now, Mr. B doesn't find this to be very threatening. So of course he's rocking it really nicely. But a lot of times when our dogs are being, from our perspective, disobedient, that typically is them saying, I either don't understand, I'm overwhelmed, or there's some other factor driving behavior as well. Yes. So right now he has not broken from the stay. He's doing a really, really great job. So, but let's say I did want to go and have him be all set with working his stay position. I would then go and reinforce him. And obviously, if your pups become much more refined, like he's still rocking it really nicely, he was all done, he knew. But let's say your puppy had been rocking it really nicely, and we're going to rock some find its too, because whenever your puppies are stuck for a little while, I don't want them to feel trapped. I want him to feel that he can get up and stretch his legs and move around again. So he's like, maybe the agility ladder's next. So we're just rocking a few of these little find its to help him have movement before he were to try it again. But with the stay again, he is going to be reinforced for being stuck and to be finished with the to be finished with the exercise. He's going for round number 2. He would then go ahead and only get the food while stuck. And for him, I believe we do all done for the release. For other babes, you might have different slogans like free time, release, all set. I do not pair my recall with a stay position. So my dogs, if they're in a stay, ready, down, they're going to stay in a stay until I go and retrieve them from their spot. So that would be instead, if you're going to ever call your dog to you, that would be your wait, and then you recall your dog from their spot to you. So right now he's working another gorgeous stay. So if let's say we were helping our dogs get more comfortable with these skills, for when you're first starting, you may not be able to add this much distance or movement. Mr. B has been rocking his stays for quite a while, since we first started when he was a baby. So you may be finding for him helping, well, chewing is still always optional for all the beauties. Oh my goodness, there we go. Second time around, much better. If he adjusts but doesn't get up, I don't really care if my dog goes from a sitting to a down or whatever. If they're just comfortable in their position, that's what I'm feeding them for, is for not moving. If though we had a moment like this where he got up, I would just replace him. I'd say bed, set him back up. We might get that lovely down. And now I'm going to tell him to stay, but I'm going to have him rock it for just a couple moments before I feed him again. So because if my puppy got up and I replaced him and I fed him, he might think the whole sequence could be get up, get back on, and get a snack every time we get off of the cot. So I want him to think that for rocking, being sort of stationary and relaxed and stuck is the best part of that stay. But we do want to work a bit with this generalization, where at times you're working the duration, other times you're working your distances, and then other times, other than that, you could be working, for example, distractions as well. So this is really pretty. Yes. So maybe we'll do all done. He's like, oh, thank goodness. What a smart boy. You're so smart. Oh my gosh, chewing. Oh, there it goes. So if let's say he's doing great with the place behavior and working those stays, beautiful. See if you can start to help either lengthen the time frame between intervals, between those snacks. So eventually your babes are not going to be rocking, again, 15 snacks for one stay position. They might rock 1 or 2 little snacks for holding that position. A lot of times people always ask me, how soon can I stop feeding my dog? Remember that if you want reliable behavior for down the road, and you're not threatening them to create that behavior, then giving them a paycheck for their hard efforts is well worth it. For my guys, they don't get food for every single time they do something. We rotate through exploration, sniffies, play. So my dogs, again, not every single time is it food. There are moments where one of my dogs is much more food driven than toy driven, and then my other one's the opposite. So, but remember that for us, we tend to, ready, ladder. We'll see if we can run. He's like, hold up, there's a smell. Bodie's also turning into a teenager. So nice job. Yes, brilliant boy. So he will sometimes have his sniffer. Oh, it fell out of his face. Ready? Ladder. He will at times have his adolescence hit hardcore. He's like freedom. And he may at times get very distracted by odors because he is still intact, which is fine. Ready? But even a dog that has been altered, will still want to smell where other dogs have been and have gone to the restroom, because for them, remember, it's a lot of information and communication. So we'll do another little find it, because for them, going to the restroom, again, form of who are you, are you boy or girl, are you looking for a friend? So this doesn't mean that because he's a little bit more aloof because he's turned into a teenager, that altering him would solve those problems. So there's this concept that behavioral troubles are going to somehow magically get better by altering your dog, and that's not accurate. The one thing it could alter is his ability to procreate. And then also, for example, if he is searching for lady friends, that drive may not be there the same way once he's been altered. But in general, we do want to try. He's like, did you throw it yet? Not yet, right? Find it. So there will be moments where you should always discuss with your veterinarian, do what makes sense for you guys. But I would normally, a lot of breeders and vets are now recommending, for many health reasons, to alter your dogs when they're a bit more mature. So 12 to 18 months of age, if the breed is more of a giant breed, sometimes even 2. So you guys can do as feels comfortable to you. But for the first time ever in my life, I have a dog that wasn't altered as practically an infant coming to me from a rescue. So I have my other dog who was altered rather young at the rescue, which again, no big deal. We're trying to prevent more dogs from not having homes by creating less puppies. But for my other boy, he is now 4 and he's still intact. So it is one of those things where you got to feel it out for you and for what you're dealing with, and maybe for your lifestyle and for the dog's welfare. So whatever seems good. So, but anyway, that's where at times behavior is also driven by hormones and your puppy's life stage. Bodie, here. Yes. Good job, sir. So we'll see if we can try a little bit with our paws up for a few moments. Ready? Paws up. He's like, my brain melted. He's like, oh, the food got stuck in his jowl. Yes, what a chewing them almost. You good? Swallow and then do the next one. Good job. So with the paws up and step up, again, the many great values to this behavior is just being able to get your puppy to try something novel. Chewing and running is so hard. For a lot of puppies, putting their body onto something like the scale, getting in the car, all these different new textures or environments can be challenging. Bodie, here. Yes, good job. So getting your puppy to understand how to use their front end versus their back end, maybe start to be able to target their body onto something. So paws up, yes, can be really nice for other venues. This too can start to turn into what's called like pivoting. So getting your puppy to learn to move their back end versus only their front end. You'll see that I try throughout their sessions is I rotate through different skills. So the puppies, yes, are not constantly getting stuck on just one task and then getting overwhelmed or tired by it. So right here, since he's doing such a lovely job, I might jackpot the skill again, which is several little morsels for the behavior I'd like to have happen again. So nice. So remember, back to feeding your babes, is if we don't give them reinforcement for their hard efforts, what's the point of your dog working and doing these skills for down the road? So this is where we do want to create a very nice big history of learned history with you. So that way there's a lot of really great value in doing these skills, because they've always felt very safe, very comfortable and fun, but also had value from the puppy's perspective. So ready? Paws up. Yes. Nice job, sir. So if we were to try doing a bit of pivoting, there's a few different ways. Some puppies get it better one way versus another, yes. If your puppy tends to fall off of the target, you could do this with more of a square that's shorter. He says, I'm going back to my stays. He's like, winded, so tired, and chewing is optional. So if you were to try the pivoting on a bowl or he's like, that was too much running. Okay, you take a break. He could maybe do really well if you've got like a piece of wood that you've cut sort of into almost like a square-like shape. I've seen some people do this also. I just shared a video with another gentleman who had like a yoga mat, yoga sort of foam rectangle, and getting the pup to pivot that to eventually do heel behaviors and sort of turning and pivoting with the handler. But if you were to try pivoting on the bowl, if this is really hard, I'd recommend to first start off with spins or twirls without a target. So just getting your dog to turn in one direction versus the other. If you don't like spin or twirl because you confuse them, which I do, I normally just do left or I do right for the spinning. And that normally tends to work pretty well for me. I do sometimes get a little confused and it doesn't matter, but my lefts and rights always sometimes at times seem very similar. So right here, maybe we'll go back into working a bit with stay, and I'll just be a little bit distracting. So you'll see that sometimes I also want the dogs to, oh my gosh, be able to participate in their learning. So as opposed to having like, chew them, sir, a rigid thought to like what my training is going to be for the day, I have like a concept of what I'd like to try to dive into. It doesn't mean that it's ever what I work on. There have been plenty of times where like, I'm going to work on loose leash walking, my place behavior. I'm going to work a bit with recalls. And then instead all we do is work like the up down pattern game. So there's going to be times where maybe your dog is not feeling it. Maybe they're sore. Maybe the environment is too stimulating. Who knows? Maybe there's like a whole bunch of geese that landed in the yard next to you and now your dog is gone, mentally and physically at times. So you may have to just be able to be flexible in your learning plans with your babes, and that'll make training feel a lot less daunting and or frustrating. Because if it's I just want to work on loose leash walking and your puppy for the day forgot the meaning of life, let alone their name or what a leash might be, that might not be the greatest day to work on loose leash walking. Yes, nice job. It's like, this is so much work. Do a little bit of wiggling of gear. So tired. Yes. So, but maybe we'll give Mr. B a little breather from this. So again, benefits to the agility ladder, just like doing cavalettis, which is another great exercise for all dogs, let alone puppies to adults. It's not about how high the jump is. It's more about getting your puppy to use their front end and their hind end and practice lifting their legs appropriately. So for dogs that have had injuries to their knees or have, a recouping from an ACL injury, cavalettis can be another great venue. Once, of course, given okay by your vet to do some exercises. But a lot of these are great for preventatives as opposed to waiting for there to be an accident. So I know like Mr. B, he did pull a little something in one of his feet a while back, and he's been doing great. No whining, no paw raising or anything today. Or when he came to WrestleMania on Tuesday, he did great. But I can always keep you updated, obviously, if Mr. Handsome gets some soreness. But he, for example, may benefit from doing, even if you have a ladder at home and you plop it in your yard and you practice that, it's just one more fun thing for him to rock. Nice job. So, but maybe we'll give Mr. B a little break and we'll do a few other little skills in just a second. So we'll go ahead and feed him his last little morsel for his stay. I'm going to say all done. And then Mr. Handsome can get up and maybe chew his snack. You're so silly. Here, you want to do one more little ladder moment and then we'll take a little break. Ready? Ladder. Yes, that was very pretty. What a smart boy. Here, we'll do a little find it. But he is doing a very nice job. And I'm so glad they're all doing so nicely together too. They have a fun time, this little foursome.